Prophetic Trumpet. We want to thank you for joining us here today. We're going to get started off on a very extensive series for the start of the year, and it's going to deal with something that's near and dear to the vast majority of us, and especially here in the United States as Americans. We understand this abundance of food that we have at our disposal. You travel the interstates and there are just restaurants everywhere. There are grocery stores, and now there's some exceptions to this. Obviously, there's some areas deemed as food deserts. We're going to get into that as we deal in the series. And you may ask, what does this have to do with prophecy? Well, you're talking about food. Well, there's also a divide over food, and there are food deserts, and some people say food deserts are racist, and they're an act of racism. I'm not in that camp. I see other reasons why retailers pull out of specific communities because of the conduct of the people in those communities, and the looting that goes on, and the violence that goes on, and the crime that's around the area. People just don't feel safe, so they leave the area and take their business elsewhere. Food can be used as a divide, and farmers are under attack. We're going to get into that into the series, and we have recognized in this day and age, the Lord has shown me anyways, that food is being used as a weapon in so many different aspects, and it's entirely prophetic. Now, prophetically speaking, and I'm going to repeat this a couple times as the weeks go on, prophetically speaking, in the New Testament, a famine that is supposed to be very large is coming. And it's a divine judgment. It is spoke of 5 times in the book of Matthew. 5 times in totality. It starts in the book of Matthew at 24:7. And then it's in Mark 13:8, which is basically the same area that Jesus speaks in Matthew 24. It's just repeated. Luke 21:11 is the third instance of that in the Gospels. Then you look at Revelation chapter 6 verse 8 and Revelation 18 verse 8. So you can see that it's prophesied. You can see it's not just Jesus that prophesies it. And how we can start to put the pieces of the puzzle together and begin to see we're coming close to this. In the last 3 years, we have seen food become a weapon. I'm going to start to explain this from a foundational level, and as the weeks proceed, you're going to see where we are and why this is actual biblical prophecy. Now, the first thing is that we experienced is that there are supply chain issues. Stores were plagued with barren shelves in various locations around the country. Let's just be honest. Some were affected more than others. And there was a sight of freighters, sea freighters at sea that would not be permitted into docks, and they just waited out there at sea. In 2021 in particular, the rumor of dock workers being forbidden to go to work started to permeate. I don't know. I was not able to discover where the truth of that was, and whether or not they were forbidden to work, or whether it was a union strike that just coincidentally occurred. Really what the truth of it was, because obviously, if you've paid attention to our ministry, you've heard me repeat several times over, we're in the age of deception. So, it's hard to believe a lot of things that we see on social media, on mainstream media anymore. It's hard to believe in what's going on. Nonetheless, we've also seen in this time period, in about 2021, that trucks were forbidden. The truck liners, they were forbidden to pick up and deliver. The freight liners could not go to docks and pick up and deliver. And this, I need you to know this isn't just human food we're talking about here. This is food for livestock as well, which really opens the breadth of the effect of food as a weapon. And this is for reasons that we really started to put this together, and since for whatever reason we can't feed on anything that's not genetically modified anymore, it seems like an absurd kind of place to be to actually have to make that statement. But nonetheless, there are thousands of livestock lives that were lost because of lack of feed. Everybody's got to eat. Anything that's alive needs to eat. And so when you see how wide the breadth of this starts to become, your eye starts to open to how deep this actually goes. The second thing that we saw in way of food as a weapon was the destruction of food plants. Now, this is a very interesting topic, especially when you try to do the research on the internet. Processed food factories that began being met with coincidental disasters and destruction, oddly, in the year 2021. And it's still happening as late as the late portion of 2024. Now, nearly 300 American food plants were destroyed or damaged in just 3 years, from 2021 to 2024. Over 300. And a comprehensive list, I'll be honest with you, a comprehensive list does not exist to our knowledge. I searched databases, I searched multiple search engines. It does not exist to give a full view in totality of what occurred in 2023 and 2024. Which is very interesting, since we also live in an age of censorship and controlled speech. Now, these disasters ranged from chicken farms to beef processing plants, to makers of mass-produced food and mass-produced processed foods. That's real easy for me to say at this stage of the morning. Like salad dressing, protein bars, junk like that. And nothing was spared, honestly. If it was a food factory of any sort, it was affected and it was targeted. And like I said, there's over 300 that have been damaged or destroyed, or the operations affected, since 2021. Now, the third way that food as a weapon showed itself is with inflation. The growing of the price of eggs, for instance, has definitely become a topic, and was a topic in the last election cycle. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, prices of food and beverages are 22.78% higher in 2024 versus 2020. So between 2020 and 2024, by the way, I have this cited. You can go to officialdata.org and find this in the food hyphen beverages /price inflation 2020 area of that respective website. But between 2020 and 2024, food and beverages experienced an average inflation rate of 5.27% per year. The rate of change indicates significant inflation. In other words, food and beverages costing $1 in the year 2020 would cost $1.23 in 2024 for an equivalent purchase. Now, compared to the overall inflation rate of 4.91% during this time period, inflation of food and beverages was significantly higher than anything else across the board. Grocery prices, the prices have risen 25% since the pandemic began. That's very instrumental and really kind of ironic, don't you think, at how everything that happened in 20 with forbidding our freedoms and pushing false narratives that this media platform that I'm on right now likes to ban if you speak out against. They like to hinder people to do that or even shut their accounts down. It's kind of interesting. Anyways, 5 categories drove nearly 30% of grocery inflation costs. It was beef and veal, poultry, non-frozen, non-carbonated juices and drinks, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, and snacks. Well, really, what else is there? It's across the board. Now, up to 10% of the inflation in the key product categories can be attributed to reducing product sizes while maintaining increasing prices. For example, General Mills, such a wholesome company that it is, it reduced its family-sized cereal box from 19.3 ounces to 18.1 ounce without changing the price. PepsiCo, and boy, you want to talk about a company that's really into a lot of bad things. It shrunk Gatorade bottles from 32 to 28 ounces. Coca-Cola did the same thing with Powerade, by the way. while increasing the price per bottle. So food is being used as a weapon. But wait, there's more. There's a fourth way that food has been utilized as a weapon. Food oh boy, here we go. Olig, there's that word, I'm having troubles with that. Oligopolies, I guess that's how you pronounce that? Anyways, have come about. And these 10 companies, I need you to know this, 10 companies produce nearly everything we consume. 10 companies. Kellogg's, Anheuser-Busch, or excuse me, not Anheuser-Busch, boy. Associated British Foods, General Mills, Dannon, Mondelez, Mars, Coca-Cola, Unilever, which, by the way, Unilever is primarily known for making soaps and non-grocery products, but they're in the top 10. PepsiCo and Nestle. They control the food industry and what food is and how it's created, how it's grown, what pesticides and insecticides go in it, how much it costs, what it sells for, and how available it is to the general public. By the way, that's cited also. I can give you that citation if you ask for it. So we have seen food become a weapon and food start to become controlled. The prices get controlled, and the quantity of which it is produced and what is produced and the quality of which that is produced is all controlled. If this is out of hand, food has become a weapon, and it is entirely prophetic. Next week, we're going to continue the food fight and the course towards famine that we are on. Please join us next week in the Prophetic Trumpet as we continue this series. Hope you join us Saturday as we continue our look at the book of Colossians, verse by verse, line by line, word by word, giving you a deep analysis of what the Apostle Paul has for us in this day and age. I want to thank you, Lord, thank you all for liking and sharing the message, and we will see you next time. God bless.